Reality is extremely complex, infinitely complex. We all face life with an imperfect understanding. Anybody who claims perfect knowledge is basically mistaken. Communism and Nazism were ideologies of this kind.
It's a closed system, government-controlled, government-sponsored, government-edited. It just leads to nasty regimes. It always goes back to one thing, that someone wants unchecked power.
All our social institutions are imperfect and ought to hold themselves open to improvement. And that is the ideal of an open society.
Mr. Soros is motivated by a sense of the possibility of human beings.
How do we live together in a society in which I absolutely disagree with you and you absolutely disagree with me? That's actually the challenge.
The best system of governance is to allow for pluralism, allow for all of those voices to be heard, but also to allow for change. We may be wrong.
A world with imperfect understanding is a much more difficult world to deal with.
We try to understand who is vulnerable, who is marginalized, who is oppressed, society by society, place by place.
We're willing to focus on the aspects of the issues that people may shy away from, and that shows a kind of fearlessness.
The Open Society Foundations have fundamentally changed life in this country for millions of people, and certainly around the globe.
We have independent foundations in many parts of the world, and they pursue their own visions in their countries. And there's no other philanthropic enterprise structured in that way.
Soros himself and the Soros Foundation was a dividing line, a front line in Central and Eastern Europe in the post-Cold War environment.
Human rights was a pretty important issue for us under communism because we didn't have these rights.
He financed a huge variety of programs like Central European University. It linked people together from the West, from the East.
He has from the start given scholarships to young people to widen their horizons.
We provided scholarships over the years to thousands of Burmese.
After 20 years of investment, the situation was just going from bad to worse.
But when Burma opened up and he went there, he said, it's good to fund a lost cause for a long time.
I'm one of the product of the Open Society Foundation's scholarship. And I started being part of the state building, the constitution making process, taking the values of the Open Society Foundations to Afghanistan.
Journalism is one critical element for an open society. We publish books sponsored by the foundation.
The aim is to provide a platform for voices which are not normally heard. In Tunisia, in Egypt, 25, 30 different countries within the African continent. Citizens are now beginning to say, well, hang on a moment, this is our government, this is our country.
Every government is tempted to violate human rights, and there is a need for institutions to keep them in check.
What was going on at Guantanamo was unacceptable, and it's good to have supporters who understand that however controversial the issues are, they're of such significance for our democracy that they need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed now.
We have an in-house public interest law firm who are litigating around the world on behalf of the Roma, on behalf of the people of Equatorial Guinea, on behalf of the Nubians in Nairobi, Kenya, many groups for whom no one else is defending rights.
Black men and boys in America.
Vulnerable communities in Pakistan. Survivors of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans.
Dalits in India.
School children in Kyrgyzstan.
Muslims across Western European cities.
LGBTI groups across East Africa.
Dissidents.
Torture victims.
Sex workers.
All those people that have died of HIV because we refuse to give them syringes.
To give voice to people who may not have that voice, who may have been deprived of it.
We empower them so they know how to be their own advocates.
George's own background and history made him very aware to make sure that one does not rule anybody out by just saying, too difficult, impossible, can't do anything.
Behind it all is this deep, profound sense of humanity. It just puts the value of every human being on such an important, unique plane.
We are trying to make the world a better place, but that's not necessarily what we accomplish. Many of the problems that preoccupy us are basically insoluble.
This is what I learned from him, that even if there is no hope, you have no other choice but to fight and to get engaged.
What is just? What is it that people should stand up for? What is it that people should defend?
People have rights by virtue of being human, not by virtue of being citizens of a particular country, not by virtue of their ethnicity.
Freedom of thought.
Free exchange of ideas.
A free media, an open media.
A sense of critical thinking.
Accountability.
Good governance.
Every person has a right to live with dignity.
A conception of society that is pluralistic, that is open. It is our hope that those ideals will get perpetuated across the world.